So now it's time to actually update our navbar.html. And I'm going to be using the navbar component inside of getbootstrap.com. And I'm just going to scroll down to their example. Really simple. Just copy that and paste it in here. Now, before I even jumped into this, I had a thing called brand name. Like there's already some template context called brand name that I may want to use. So what I'm going to do is make a conditional here, and I'll say if brand name. So if brand name, then we'll put in the brand name. Otherwise, we'll put in some default. And I'll call that CFE e-commerce. And then end if. And we can get rid of this now. Okay. So I told you we're going to do some more examples of this. And this is a place where this makes sense. It would make sense to do what we're about to do using URLs for stuff like home, maybe stuff like contact, possibly even products, right? So where we want to see. I'm going to get rid of that disabled class there. We don't need that. So this allows me to do this on another level, right? So I can actually do something like URL, single quote, home, and that should take me to my home URL. Of course, if I save that and go in my project and refresh, I'll see, hey, no reverse for URL home found. So going back into URLs, I've got my home page here. All I need to do is add the name of home. We save that, refresh. Now it actually is there and it's working. So if I click on it, it takes me home. What do you know? If I click on products, it doesn't take me anywhere. So again, I can go back into my nav bar and use that same thing over again. So contact, I'll do one there. Products, also there. Now products, again, was we have to put in the namespace, so which we called products, and then list for the list view, because that's probably what we want that to be. For contact, we want to have our contact, right? Just like that. So that means that we probably need to check to make sure that this URL exists. I'll look in urls.py. Of course, it doesn't actually exist. So I'm going to go ahead and do name equals to contact. And actually, I'm going to do this for a few things. So name equals to about, name equals to login, and finally, name equals to register. You're going to see this a lot because these URLs are going to be shortcutted now in many ways. I mean, sometimes you might actually use the reverse for something like login, or you would have it on your nav bar, right? So let's go ahead and just add another list element here, and we'll just say login. We save that, refresh, and what do you know? We can go to actually our login page. We can go to products, contact, home. Our brand doesn't have the right URL here, so let's go ahead and add that in. All right. So we have a way to jump around. Something you may notice though is this looks like it's active, even though I'm on the product list, right? That's because of this class here. So if I cut that class out, I can save that and refresh, and now it's no longer active, but then the navigation isn't really explaining to me where I am. So this gives us another opportunity to use another type of variable. And I can actually cut this out. And above my nav, this is where I'm going to put it. You don't have to put it here, but this is where I will. I'll call this as home URL. So that's saying this URL, let's use it as the home URL, as in the home URL context tag. So I can save that and now click on that, right? It's still exactly the same. So what that means is then inside of this class where we saw active before, I can actually use something like if request path is home URL. I think that's what it is. We'll say active, and then we'll say end if, or not is, but equals home URL. We refresh. Looks like it's there. If I click on products, it goes away. That allows us to make that a little bit more effective, but also then if I need to reuse the home URL, I can just use this one template just like I did right here. All right, so this context is now allowing for that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it and then repeat, and then basically have all these things in the same way. Okay, so I paused it, and now all of my URLs are roughly the same. So if I refresh in here, if I click on products, notice product stays black, contact stays black. This is just allowing stuff like Bootstrap to actually work, but also showing you that, hey, if you're on a certain URL, you can use this method to see, hey, am I on that URL? If so, then let's do some different things using something like Navbar, right? So our Navbar is on many different views. It's used over and over again. That means that, I don't always pass in context to the Navbar. This allows me to use the request context because that is in there by default, and also my URL shortcut names. There really isn't a more efficient way to do it than what I just showed you. I mean, if you know of one, please let me know. I want to know it. But I'm almost certain that this is the most efficient way to do something just like this, as far as showing and displaying our login data, or our URL data. The next thing would be, again, is using something like if request.user.is authenticated, then I might want to have log out here, not log in. And then otherwise, we would have log in and possibly even register, right? You would do stuff just like that. Log out. I don't know if we have a log out method yet. We do not. So we'll leave that for now, but I'll leave it as the login URL for now. And this allows you to do all sorts of things. So register, we just did register, I believe. Yes, we did. Okay, so let's do that again. These are things that you'll probably end up doing, and you should get familiar with it because you will end up using this in other areas too, like the footer. We haven't even talked about the footer, but the footer that would be down at the bottom would actually show you to do that. And notice that this changed to log out because my current user is authenticated. If I opened it up in an incognito window, I see login and register. Exactly the way I want it to work. Okay, so that is URLs and Navbar to HTML. Our way of navigating is much, much better. And again, even if you don't understand the styling from Bootstrap, this still works. Even if you're not fully getting the classes and this active stuff, that's okay. It might take a little bit more time to actually understand those things, but the concepts hopefully are really sticking. If they're not, please let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.